Okay, let's jump right into our deep dive today. We're looking at Numbers chapter 30.
Right. It's surprisingly detailed about vows and oaths.
Yeah, it really pulls back the curtain on commitments, spoken words, and maybe even relationship dynamics in that context. It's quite fascinating.
It really is. What the chapter outlines is, well, a very specific framework for how vows are treated. And crucially, it makes distinctions based on a person's status, especially within the family.
Status is key here, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just about the vow itself, but who's making it and, importantly, who might overhear it.
Okay, so let's start with the baseline. For men, the text seems pretty clear.
Uh-huh. It says if a man makes a vow to the Lord or, binds himself with an oath, he has to do exactly what he said. Full stop.
No wiggle room there. His word is his bond, basically.
Exactly. That sets a strong principle. His commitment, once spoken, is binding entirely on him.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, the rules seem to shift quite a bit when it's a woman making the vow.
They do. It clearly connects the validity of her vow to her specific situation or relationships.
It reflects a certain legal and social structure of that time, right?
Precisely. Her standing regarding vows could be influenced by the male head of her household, either father or husband.
Okay, let's break that down. First case. A young woman still living at home with her father. She makes a vow. Does it stick?
Well, it does stand initially, but there's a big unless her father hears about it
Here's it, and then...
and there actively forbids her from keeping it.
Yeah.
If he does that, the text actually says the Lord releases her from the vow. His word overrides hers in effect.
So his hearing it and objecting is the crucial step for nullification. What if he hears it and just doesn't say anything, stays quiet?
Good question. Silence equals consent here.
Yeah.
If her father hears it and says nothing on the day he hears it, that silence confirms the vow. It becomes binding on her.
So inaction confirms it, but action can nullify it. Makes sense in that framework.
His passive acceptance validates it. Yeah. His active prohibition cancels it.
Okay, got it. Now, what about if her status changes? Say, a married woman.
Very similar pattern, actually. If she makes a vow after getting married, maybe even described as a rash promise that binds her, and her husband hears it and stays silent, her vow stands. His lack of objection confirms it, just like the father's silence.
And if he does object, hears it and says, nope.
Then he nullifies it. Simple as that. And again, the text says the Lord will release her from that obligation because her husband voided it.
And this applies whether she made the vow sort of speculatively before marriage or specifically while living with him?
The text covers vows made while living under his roof, too, yes. Same principle. His silence confirms. His explicit word nullifies.
So this power, this authority to confirm or nullify, shifts from the father to the husband upon marriage.
That's exactly the mechanism described. The husband holds that authority.
Does this apply across the board to all women, though? Or are there exceptions?
There's a very important exception mentioned.
Yeah.
Widows and divorced women.
Ah, okay. So women not directly under a father's or husband's authority at that moment.
Right. Any vow or pledge made by a widow or a divorced woman is explicitly stated as binding on her. There's no mention of anyone else having the power to nullify it. She's accountable for her own word.
That's a really significant distinction. It highlights the dependency aspect in the other cases.
It certainly does.
And one more wrinkle about the husband's role. What if he's silent at first, confirming the vow by default, but then changes his mind later?
The text anticipates that too. If the husband nullifies her vow sometime after he first heard it and kept silent, well, then he takes on the responsibility.
What kind of responsibility?
He's said to bear her guilt related to that vow. It suggests he had his chance to nullify it promptly, and if he delays, the consequence, the guilt, transfers to him.
Wow, okay. So timing matters. You can't just change your mind down the road without consequence.
Seems that way. A timely decision was expected.
So putting it all together, this chapter is really laying out specific regulations for vows within these key family relationships. Father-daughter, husband-wife.
Absolutely. It defines who holds the authority regarding these commitments within that structure. It's quite an intricate system.
So for you listening, what this dive into Numbers 30 shows is a system where the binding power of a vow wasn't always absolute for everyone. For women, it could be conditional, depending on their relationship to their father or husband.
Yeah, a condition that just didn't apply to men or to women who were considered independent, like widows or those who were divorced. They answered for their own vows.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What does this ancient text reveal about how they viewed responsibility, authority, and even the power of spoken words within different family roles?
It certainly highlights the weight placed on spoken commitments, vows, and oaths, but also shows how that weight could be shifted or even lifted based entirely on these established relational dynamics.
Consider that gravity of words spoken aloud and how the power associated with those words could change so dramatically depending on who you were and your place within that specific family structure. Something to reflect on.